You know, a week in the NFL, DJ, is going to be good when it's Friday, and it's already been a really solid week. Some really good storylines, some interesting results. We haven't hit Sunday yet. Nate Burleson of Good Morning Football and CBS Sports is joining us. And on the one hand, Nate, I wanted to bring you on and, again, give you our eternal thanks, because it is tough to bring some of our friends from south of the border on during Thanksgiving weekend, as one can understand. But then the other side of me realized you're never not working. You are on the clock basically 24/7, so I'm not surprised that you've been kind enough with your time. But honestly, on behalf of everyone here and all the viewers at home, thanks again for joining us this week, man. We appreciate it.
Of course, man. I love it. And I love the feedback. So for everybody listening here in the States and, of course, in Canada, I appreciate you guys tweeting after the show and after our segments. It really warms my heart that we have such a connection, and then people get to – it's just basically play flies on the wall of us talking about sports that we love.
And that's why people eat it up, and that's why they love it. And we are thankful on this American Thanksgiving week that you continue to join us. So thanks again for doing that. Let's get to it.
Yeah, can we stop with the pleasantries?
Okay, let's
get to it. Let's get to it. Jerry Jones. Keep it 100.
Did you think Jason Garrett? Did you think in your inbox today, one of the sources at NFL Network or somebody else was going to have a Jason Garrett has just been fired notification on your phone?
While I was watching that game, there were a few shots that I liked. Of course, I love the sideline of the Buffalo Bills because they were having a good time kicking butt. I like the Jerry Jones shots, of him in the suite because he wears all of his emotions on his face. But then I also like the shots of Jason Garrett. And there were a couple times where it looked like he had the Jason Garrett just got fired face because with what was going on, how that offense was just struggling, it almost seemed like he wasn't going to make it out of the game. I remember checking Twitter around halftime, and it was #fire Jason Garrett. Mm-hmm. Now, listen, Jerry came on my show this past week, and he said that if anybody has earned the right to call him his guy, it's me. So basically, I'm going to stick behind Jason Garrett. I do feel like he's going to make it out of the season, but if this trends in the opposite direction, he'll be fired as soon as the season ends. If they lose the division title, if Dak regresses towards the end of the year and Ezekiel Elliott doesn't seem to get going, he won't make it out of the season. But we got to keep in mind, though, the Cowboys are still undefeated within the division. I know we're all panicking.
They're still first place. They're first place.
Still in first place. So we can't panic too much. Let's just see how the season ends and then what they do if they get into the postseason.
But, Nate, they have gourmet talent and they have takeout results. They are first place in the division, but they've yet to beat a team with a winning record. So forget if he should be fired, because we could have had this conversation at this time last year or the year before, but he is Jerry's boy. Should he be fired?
It's tough, man. It's hard for me to call for individuals' jobs. That's one thing I don't like doing. I will say this, collectively, the voice around the league is that Jason Garrett's hot seat is burning a hole in his pants. So, people want to see him gone because of all of the talent that he has on the field and the lack of results. It's also the offense, though. And we all thought it was going to be corrected when they fired Scott Linehan last year. And then Kellen Moore took over. And ironically, Kellen Moore played under Scott Linehan in Detroit. So there are some similarities between the two and how they call games. What was frustrating yesterday, and I think a lot of the Cowboys fans were echoing this as well, is that you see the Buffalo Bills, right? And they're almost like the 90s Utah Jazz. They're not the most exciting team,
but they get it
done. You got to respect them because they're winning.
Yeah.
But then yesterday, we saw the trickeration. And that's like the Utah Jazz in the 90s coming out and doing the Harlem Globetrotters, and all of a sudden they're spicing it up. So I'm looking at them pull the trick play off, and John Brown double reverse, throws it to Singletary in the end zone, and I'm just waiting. I'm like, all right, man, come on, Cowboys. Like, pull something out of your playbook. And they didn't. I think that is the most frustrating thing. And I was talking to Phil Simms and Boomer Esiason, who I work with on Sundays, and I'm saying, so is it just Kellen Moore, or does Jason Garrett, the former quarterback, call plays as well? And Phil Simms said, no, I don't think that he called plays. And I'm like, listen, man, if the ship is going down, wouldn't you want to, take control of it? if things weren't happening the way that you anticipated them to happen, wouldn't you snatch the playbook from Kellen Moore, who's in his first year as offense coordinator, and say, let me get this thing figured out? And because of that, I think that's going to be either the one thing that keeps him around, but what it looks like, it could be the one thing that gets him fired.
Let's stay with those Buffalo Bills. There are a lot of Bills fans here in Canada, and I didn't really understand why the Cowboys were favored going into that game, because the Bills are the team with the winning record and playing good football going into that game. Is this Buffalo Bills team for real?
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. I had to apologize on the network, and I said, I'm not going to bet against the Bills. I've been waiting every single week for them to have this, enormous collapse, and almost so I can validate not believing in them as much as, the Bills Mafia does. They are for real. They got a quarterback who's taking care of the ball. I believe it's over the last 6 weeks. He has 15 or 16 total touchdowns to just one interception. So, Josh Allen, who came in the league, a gunslinger, letting that thing go, being very risky with some of his decision-making, he's being more efficient and taking care of the rock. They have a strong running game, and that includes Josh Allen's legs. And then on the flip side, that defense, man, they are brutal, and they will beat you up. Tre'Davious White is a true shutdown corner. So, yeah, they're for real. I said a little earlier that, we woke up on the show, and it's like every hour we're talking about the Cowboys. And in the third hour of our show, I ripped up the paper in front of me, and I apologized to the producers that had the lower graphic that said Cowboys, blah, blah, blah. I said, I don't want to talk about the Cowboys. I don't want to talk about America's team. Let's talk about America's spirit animal. And I think that's what the Bills represent. It's the everyday working man in us. You wake up, you go fight for your meal, you go put food on the table, and you enjoy the results of the work that you put in. And they quietly do it. Like, Josh Allen is a humble, passive, praise-deflecting quarterback, and it's refreshing because every time you start to compliment him, he just starts pointing the finger to other guys in the locker room. And I saw Tre'Davious White after the game run over and take a bite out of that turkey leg. My guy Cole Beasley in the locker room after the game said, I'm not much of a fighter, but if Josh Allen was in a bar fight, I'd be right there swinging for him. Like, that's a pretty bold statement for a guy who played in Dallas with Dak and Romo. So, I really like what they're doing, and more importantly, I just like the fact that they're quietly doing it.
I mean, Josh Allen, the one number I heard yesterday, he has more rushing touchdowns this year than Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. I believe he has 16 in his first 2 seasons, which is right behind Cam Newton. Just think about that. 16 total rushing touchdowns over the last couple of years. He's just getting started. And what's crazy is he can run more, but I think he's learning how to preserve his body. And also he understands when I escape the pocket, I don't always have to run for the first down.
Right.
I can escape the pocket and keep my chin up. And as I'm running with the ball, my wide receivers get to run secondary routes. I don't care how good your cornerback group is. If as a wide receiver, I get to run the route that was called in the huddle and then look back and see the scramble drill, just like Cole Beasley over the middle of the field, uncovering late and then running towards the middle. He becomes a wide open receiver because the threat of Josh Allen's legs caused that defense to run up and focus on him, and they're going to make play after play after play.
That CBS game, that Cowboys Bills game, that was the game you obviously were working on yesterday, and
Yeah.
the ratings came in. Did you know what the rating was in the States, by the way, Nate, on that?
No, I didn't know it. What was it?
A small audience of an average of 32 million people watched
Wow.
your game
That's
yesterday.
Unbelievable. What's crazy is at halftime, I'm trying to figure out a way to talk about the game in a very entertaining way. And all these tweets start coming in because Josh Allen, I don't know if people know this, was raised on the cantaloupe farm. And I made that comment, and then I said, it's fitting because it seems like his cantaloupes are dropping because he's maturing right in front of our eyes. And a whole bunch of people just started tweeting me. So that makes sense that over 30 million people were watching, and they liked my cantaloupe line.
That explains it. Yeah, a few people caught it.
Yeah, a few people caught it.
There's been something going on this year that I've certainly caught, and there's a wave, and we love your perspective, so I would love your expertise on it. The top 4 QBs in the league in terms of QBR, and the 3 guys in the MVP conversation have something in common. They're all brothers. They're all black guys. Black quarterbacks are having a season. Why are we seeing that now?
I don't know if these numbers are still accurate, but at one point, and this could have been a while ago when I was playing in the league, I heard that close to 60 or 70% of college quarterbacks are African American. And I thought that stat was wild because at the time when I heard this number, the league didn't represent that. I think what we're seeing now, it's not that, black quarterbacks are all of a sudden better than white quarterbacks. I just feel like the young African-American athlete who stepped on the football field that was fast, that was athletic, would usually get pointed to the wide receiver group. Or, you know what, you're fast, man. I think you can backpedal. How about you play corner? Hey, you're a big fella. You're about 6'5", 6'6". How about you play DN? So just think about this for a second. Cam Newton, he was a league MVP. Years ago, Cam Newton would have been told, hey, I need you to try to sack the quarterback, how big and fast and strong you are. Russell Wilson, I mean, he has a great mind for the game. They might have looked at him and said, hey, man, you got good feet. If you want to hit, you can play linebacker or safety. Like, you'll be a really good quarterback of the defense. And Lamar Jackson, I mean, we were trying to make him a running back up until last year. Even he said it, man, pretty good for a running back. So I think now, because of the success of, guys from yesteryear, Randall Cunningham, of course, Michael Vick, a host of other, the Rodney Peets and the Donovan McNabbs, the list goes on and on. But as of recently, though, I think there's been an influx of guys that look like me. And for a kid that's playing football, whether he's in Pop Warner, middle school, or high school, he can now look back at that coach and say, no, I don't want to play wide receiver. I don't want to backpedal and hit anybody. You know what? I'm a damn quarterback, and I'm proud of it. Look at Lamar Jackson. Look at Russell Wilson. Look at what these guys are doing. And that just proves that, you can be very, very athletic, very, very fast, and you can still play the quarterback position. And what I think teams are doing now, when you look at what Pat Mahomes did last year, Andy Reid adjusting his playbook, Harbaugh doing with the Ravens, adjusting his playbook after playing with Joe Flacco, Russell Wilson catering an offense based around his skill set. These coaches are wising up. I know head coaches and offense coordinators are very egotistical, like all athletes are. But they know my game plan is the right game plan, and I'm not going to adjust. I'm going to make my players adjust to me. That will get you, sitting on the outside looking in, watching another team play in the playoffs. You have to credit these coaching staffs as well, because they're adjusting to the players versus making the players adjust to their playbook.
Finally, Nate, before we let you go, because it's still a really good sked the rest of this week in the National Football League. Obviously, 10-1 San Francisco at 9-2 Baltimore will have everyone's attention at 1 p.m. Eastern Sunday. What are we going to learn over those 3.5 hours?
We're going to learn that the Baltimore Ravens are for real. And I think we're going to learn that Lamar Jackson has proven to be the complete quarterback. I think we were all, sitting on the edge of our seats because he's so exciting, but we're also like, man, is this going to last? Is this sustainable? And I believe it is. And I think he's going to prove that. Now, the defense he's facing is damn good, man. And they're going to try to box him in. But what happens is if you play zone, he can pick you apart because it leaves gaps and spaces. And you can run between gaps and spaces with his speed. That's going to fly right past you. And if you play man, then the speed of his wide receivers and that bully ball the tight ends play, along with Mark Ingram sitting in that backfield, they'll expose that. So I feel like we'll see another win for the Baltimore Ravens.
It is going to be an interesting one. Nate, as always, on this U.S. Thanksgiving weekend, we are thankful for you. Have a great weekend. Enjoy it. Let's do this again soon. Thank you.
Of course, man. Thank you, guys.